Alright, those are removed. Next thing, let's remove the air filter and the spark plug covers on both sides. Now that we've taken the covers off and the air filter, we have to take this partition off, and that's going to involve pulling up on this hatch here like that and pull out. Do that on both sides. Pull this weather strip up and remove 4 bolts. 2 more Torxes underneath, one, and there's one on the other side, and then we're going to finagle this out of here. We're going to remove both of these air ducts here for the cabin filters, and there's going to be a Torx screw holding in right here. I don't know if you could see that, and that will unclamp this plastic piece which is holding this thing vertical, and then we have a inside here there's a metal clip holding the thing on. You're just gonna pry it up and pull this whole thing out. Do that on both sides. Okay, next thing we're doing is we're removing the e-box cover, and first thing you're gonna do is this plastic thing here is held on by a 10mm bolt, and then you got some Allens all the way along the side. Pull that up. We're trying to make some room here to get the valve cover gasket off, so we're probably going to get to taking this plastic piece off as well. So here's the e-box with the cover removed. After taking the screws out, I just pulled it out of there from these latches in the back, and on this plastic piece I managed to just wriggle it up, and there you go. Now we're going to want to unplug these 3 sensors in the back, and there's one down here, one right there, one right there. Now we're going to remove the screws which hold these sensors on. 2 of them are cam sensors, and one of them is the eccentric shaft sensor, and that's the one we're looking at right now. And there you go, you can see all the screws. Alright, here's what the cam sensors look like removed, and the sealing element for the eccentric shaft sensor. Next thing we're going to do is take out the ignition coils. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lift up the tab. That is pop. And bring it up all the way. And then you're going to pull out the sensor. I don't know if you can see this. Pull it out. And then you're just going to pull up. Good, you remove the ignition coils, and now we're going to remove these 2 bolts, these 2 wires. We're going to unclip this harness from the valve cover, and we're going to move it out of the way, as well as we're going to unclip this ventilation hose for the crankcase. On removing this harness, you're just going to see this tab, the screwdriver is touching. There. You're just going to pry underneath it, pry it out, and it should click. That one was already pulled up. Just like that. So you remove the harness out of the way as much as possible. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the servo motor out. Unplug it. Remove these 4 Allens, they're 4mm. And when you put it back in, you're going to want to put it in and just spin it back in. And that's lefty loosey, righty tighty. Next is the 4 bolts that hold this spacer on. Remove those. Bolts removed. Just pull up. And there's a sealing ring around this, which is going to have to be replaced. Okay, now it's time to remove all the screws. 1, 2, 3, etc. When you're removing the bolts, make sure that the grommets stay on the valve cover gasket. You don't want to accidentally break one of these off because they're brittle and the little plastic parts can fall inside the engine. Make sure you have 5 on the top, 5 along the entire bottom, and 1 in the middle on both sides. And this end, this might be hard to see. There's a middle bolt that ain't easy to capture, but let's see if I can show you. Deep down in that cast, you could see a little part of it, and that's about all I can show you. Alright, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting this cover out. As you can see, coolant reservoir's in the way, so I'm going to remove these 2 Torxes and push the coolant reservoir aside, make some more room. Lots of finagling. Alright, and here are the tubes. They all are loose now. Just pull those out and remove the gasket, which still remains in here as well. Here's what the spark plug domes look like. You're going to want to replace these. When installing them, you're obviously going to put some grease on the ends, some lubricant to slide them in there, and so that they slide over easily on installation. Just, you don't want to put these in there and then put the cylinder head on top of them. Make sure they line up. Alright, for this side, we need to remove the vacuum pump. So I'm going to remove this clamp and these 2 clamps, as well as the clamp that holds on this little vacuum hose in the middle here. Okay, to get these clamps off, I just bent this little tab down right here and straightened it out, essentially. And then I just put a screwdriver in between here and hammered it a little bit, and it popped loose. There you go. Voila. I'm going to replace that clamp with a normal clamp. These are factory clamps. I'm going to replace it with a normal one. Alright, after removing those clamps, you can see what I'm dealing with here. This little hose. I'm trying to get that out here, and how you take this little plastic clip off is you push in on the back and you pull it out. So you're going to squeeze where it connects into the piece of metal. You're going to squeeze and you're going to try and pull it out. Be very careful because this is very delicate. But it looks like I already got one side out. And there we are. Remove this hose as well. Alright, while I was trying to remove this hose, it broke here at the nipple. So I'm going to have to replace this entire hose. Alright, now let's take the 3 external Torxes that are holding this metal bracket on, which is holding this vacuum pump on. There's one on the bottom as well. Here's the bracket coming off, and that's what it looks like. Next, we're going to take the pump out. There you are. So I started. The pump just comes out by pulling it out. Now, I believe you want to look at the position. I'm remembering now. You want to look at the position of where that rotor's at when you take this pump out. Very important. A note on installing the vacuum pump: there's a floppy vein that sticks out. Let me show you here. And that moves up and down. You're going to want to make sure that that's nice and straight when it goes in, so that it fits into the groove on the other side. Sometimes it's easy, and sometimes you have to wrestle with it. What I used this time was a pick tool to go in there, and I gently lifted it up from the inside and just worked it in. We're making some progress here. Let's remove these two connectors. Remove these two 10mm bolts. Remove these clips holding the solenoids in, then we're just going to pull the solenoids straight out. Alright, those solenoids came out no problem. I just used a screwdriver to wedge them out nice and easy. And there's a little clip holding these wires that are running through on the bottom of the timing cover there. We're just going to pry that off with the screwdriver, and then these are the bolts we want to remove for the timing cover. There's 3 on each side. There's one below that second one. This might be hard to access. There's 2 in the middle down here, and then on this side there's 3 as well going down. Alright, I'm having trouble getting to the corner bolt on the right hand side here, and there's this Y hose which is in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this bolt and maybe unplug the connector for the water pump and push this hose out of the way and get to that bolt. You can kind of see it there. Alright, that was good enough. I used my shorter socket, got the bolt out, and now we're moving on to taking this timing cover off. So I'm going to pry it from here gently, and it should just pop off. There we are. So if you made it this far, you did a great job. The rest of this is going to be mostly common sense, and it's very much the same job on the other side, with not too many minor differences. The rest of this is just going to, I'm obviously just going to take these seals off, and I'm going to clean the surfaces and put the new seals back on. So the seals I have are obviously the timing cover seal, and here's my solenoids. I'm going to replace those seals on both sides, that is. And I showed you earlier, there's the seal which goes in there, which is actually stuck to the Valvetronic motor right there, you can see. And over here on my cam sensors are the cam seals. Oh, and there it is, the eccentric shaft sensor seal too. I'm going to lube up inside here so that the spark plug domes fit in nice and easy. Also, on the other end of the spark plug domes, right here on the top, around the sides, just so that when I stick this valve cover gasket on, they fit nice and easy. It can be a huge pain in the ass. Be very careful when you're going in the back here to not damage the eccentric shaft sensor. This thing is brittle, and you don't want to break any of those plastic parts and have them go inside the engine. When I put the valve cover back on, I put my hand in the spark plug holes and I just, with my finger, feel around the spark plug domes, just guide them into the valve cover gasket while simultaneously pushing down on the valve cover gasket so it seats properly. From the other side of the engine, a couple minor differences. On the front, you're going to have a bunch of wires inside these wire harnesses, and what you want to do is you want to just spread the harness and remove the wires out before you take the valve cover off. The next thing is we have a gas line which goes over the top. What you want to do there is push in and then push this black lever that way and pull out. Be careful here. There might be a lot of gas pressure in there. You don't want it getting in your eyes. And lastly, I wanted to show you the bolt furthest toward the rear is right there. Deep in that recess. It's actually sticking out here, this one here, because I loosened it up already, but it's there. That gives you a good idea of where it's at. And one more note, while taking this valve cover off, there's a purge valve here. You're going to want to remove the line underneath it, right here, to give you some more room to get that valve cover off. So remove it, pull it out of your way, and how you do that is just by squeezing the sides and releasing. It can be kind of difficult trying to do this one-handed. There you go. Now that's out of the way. The valve cover's coming off. And I just wanted to show you what it looked like on the other side, taking the timing cover off. What you pretty much have is just this one bracket which holds the purge valve on. I already set the purge valve outside. And so I have the timing cover out here. Here's the clip, which I had to remove the harness, which I had to get the harness out of the way of. It goes just like that. And so you're going to want to push it out of those two clips. And I left the bracket on as well. No need to remove that. I removed the dipstick, just the dipstick, and I started from the center and just angled it in there and worked it around by pulling the dipstick tube out of the way a little bit. I was able to work it around there without breaking the eccentric shaft sensor. Alright, that's me signing off.